President Jacob Zuma doesn't want any more delays in his corruption trial. He's filed a 9-page response to the state's application to have the case postponed to 2021. Zuma and his co-accused French arms company Thales are expected back in court on Tuesday on charges of fraud, racketeering and money laundering. The charges stem from an arms deal negotiated by the South African government in the late 1990s. Zuma's lawyers have argued that the state is trying to cover up its failures through long postponements. All right, let's get a bit more on that story. I'm joined by Newzroom Afrika's senior politics reporter, Ziyanda Ngcobo. Mapolo, good evening and thank you for your time tonight. What is contained in this 9-page response?
Well, Thabo, I think I should take it back to the state's application, which, of course, that 9-page document is actually responding to. The state was asking that instead of the trial getting underway in October, which is what Zuma's lawyers have been requesting consistently, the state is saying that they've gotten new evidence that only came to light in late 2019. It was a KPMG report, and so they're saying, firstly, they need to update their indictment, but also starting the trial in October would bring along a lot of uncertainties. You'll recall, Thabo, that even when the matter was postponed on the 6th of May due to COVID-19 reasons and postponed to the 23rd of June, we later heard from Zuma's attorney, Eric Mabuza, saying that they're likely to postpone again, of course, because the courts are only meant to officially open on the 26th of June. Now, this 9-page letter is responding to exactly that, saying that the state is trying to use backhanded means to actually force a postponement of the beginning of the trial. And they're basically saying that the state, despite it consistently saying during the various court appearances of the former president last year and in 2018, that the state doesn't actually seem to be ready to go on trial. They're even saying that of the 207 witnesses, the state has said that most of them are abroad. And Zuma's lawyers are arguing that it's impossible to say that all 207 of those witnesses cannot appear. Let the trial begin. So that is actually now a matter that is going to be ventilated in courts on Tuesday after this back and forth of letters between the NPA's state prosecutor Billy Downer and, of course, Zuma's lawyers.
From this response, it seems the state is now insisting on physical appearance in court as opposed to appearing online.
That's right, and this is what Zuma's lawyers have actually taken exception to, because they're saying that there was no need for any of the legal teams to physically appear in court, and that this matter could have been handled, the pre-trial matters that is, could have been handled without physically appearing in court. So what's now necessitating this physical appearance in court from both legal teams is this dispute. Another issue that's come into question is a letter that was written in May by Zuma's lawyers about communication between the judge presidents, Nkz Bar, and Billy Downer. Now, Billy Downer responded to those assertions or accusations, because Zuma's lawyers were requesting reasons for why the NPA state prosecutor is actually in conversation with the judge president, who may at some stage be presiding over the matter. And Billy Downer had actually said that part of the reason why he had communicated directly with the judge president is that he wanted to speak about this issue, about when the trial should begin. Subsequently, the judge president doesn't seem to have responded according to Zuma's lawyers, and that it's actually Deputy Judge President Mjabuleni Madondo who's actually intervened in this matter. So the issues that are going to be ventilated in court now, which is necessitating the physical appearance, is to discuss when will the trial begin, this issue of whether the state is ready to go ahead. And if the state is not ready, Zuma's lawyers are saying that then the state must make a formal application and explain why they want to actually delay the start of a trial, which they've consistently said they've been ready to begin.
This is a 10-year or even longer trial that's been ongoing. I mean, does this in any way put a dent on the state's readiness to try this case?
Well, that's exactly the issue that needs to be ventilated, and this is exactly what Zuma's lawyers are basically accusing the state of. The state has been saying they're ready to go on trial. I mean, I remember as far back as 2018, in one of the first appearances that was made by Zuma when this matter resumed, before the subsequent applications that came thereafter, the state had said they're ready, but now the state is saying that because there's been new evidence that was submitted by the defense, a KPMG report being one of those, documents and new evidence that's been submitted. The state is arguing that they need to update their indictment, the charges, and the list of witnesses possibly. So we need to hear just how much the state is ready. The state wants to go ahead with the matter early in February 2021, and they're saying it will take 2 terms, which is about, around 6 months. For the entire trial to sit and be heard. So it's an issue around timetables, but also that communication between the judge president and the state prosecutor, Billy Downer, and what implications that mean for whoever presides over the matter going forward. We aren't sure whether the former president will be in attendance, but we've seen in the correspondence that it's not compulsory for him to be there because he's considered as one of those vulnerable, in the vulnerable group of those who are likely are more vulnerable rather to COVID-19, and as well as Thales, of course, co-accused the French arms company, the representative who's been coming to actually appear in court. Of course, we know that only domestic travel that's been opened in the country thus far, so that also necessitated them not necessarily being forced to appear in court. But definitely, from the side of Zuma's lawyers, the forced or the requirement now to physically appear in court, they're able to tell you that it was actually a move that they didn't expect, because they had actually discussed behind the scenes with the state to actually have this matter, begin in October and have a holding date in August 2020, where they knocked down a date for October.
So what are we likely to hear on Tuesday? Now, the biggest argument will be former President Jacob Zuma saying he wants the trial to go ahead, and the NPA saying this trial will only be certified trial ready in 2021. That's pretty much what we're expecting to be argued on Tuesday.
100%. I mean, the issue here is that this matter seems behind closed doors to have been discussed. As because of COVID-19, the courts have been closed, and the courts are only typically meant to open provisionally around the 26th of June. So even the physical appearance is something that it seems was requested by senior officials or the judge president himself, actually, to say, let this issue now be ventilated in an open court. Let the state actually now formally apply and actually ventilate why it can only begin in February 21, what issues or what is now causing this delay, and of course Zuma's lawyers wanting to actually put forth their argument for why this matter needs to begin in October 2020. We're likely to hear them say that, of course, now it's the state that is now causing delays, and yet it's former President Jacob Zuma who's been accused of, employing a so-called Stalingrad approach. And so we're likely to hear that tone from Zuma's lawyers. And of course, from the state side, they are going to actually give the various reasons, as per in their application on the 17th of June, as to why they actually need a little bit more time. They've also argued, Thabo, that since former President Jacob Zuma fired his long-time attorney, Daniel Mancha, and then hired Eric Mabuza, they are arguing that, Eric Mabuza struggled to get certain documents from Zuma's former attorney, Mancha, and it's actually the state that actually had to hand over certain documents for him to be able to catch up to the case. And they're saying that this only happened on the 18th of May 2020, so they also, the state is also likely to argue that even the defense themselves are not in a position to begin this trial.